Neoliberalism is the idea that basically everything is measurable in terms of market value, and the value of all these things can be increased through competition. The background problem or issue for neoliberalism is how to describe the predominant ideology and way of functioning of society in the contemporary West, let's say late 20th century, early 21st century. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how anthropologists use the term neoliberalism. Now, every discipline uses the term differently, so political science or economics are going to use it differently. So what do anthropologists mean when they talk of neoliberalism? I think the first thing they think about is in the 1980s, that a new form of liberalism was emerging. It's associated with Reagan in the US and Thatcher. And in broad terms, it's a contraction of the state. It is the selling off of publicly owned assets such as banks, railways, postal services, jails, and so on. And the rationale for the selling off of this is to increase efficiency. In other words, services are moved from the political sphere to the market. So what is the rationale or idea behind this? Again, the idea here is that everything is legible or measurable. I think that's the most important part here, that everything can be measured in terms of quantifiable inputs or outputs. So for example, let's say prior to the 1980s, a nurse working on a ward would just do his job or her job as he or she thought fit for the patients. In a neoliberal regime, this nurse is measured on how many patients she treats per hour, or even how the patients rated their well-being during that nurse's shift on a scale of 1 to 10. In other words, everything becomes measurable in terms of inputs, how many hours a person worked, and outputs, what rating the customers gave the nurse. So at the same time, and the people are now thought of as customers, and nurses, hospitals and things are thought of as service providers. You can see this in universities, for example. Students transform from being students to customers, and lecturers become service providers. So that's a kind of the change, this idea of legibility and measurability, and it's given nice terms like customers and service providers. The other ideas that are going on here is the market is the measure of all value. So we look at a post office and that belongs to the government. If they sell it off, you look at a post office and compare it to like a private courier company. If the private courier company can provide the services cheaper and more efficiently, then it goes to the private courier company, or the government just sells off the post office. So this idea is a classic kind of liberal idea. So is the idea that competition can produce the best outputs and more efficiencies. So the idea is you allow competition and consumers/customers benefit. Again, people being reconfigured as consumers or customers. So legibility, this new or novel idea of legibility, I think, means that the classical liberal ideals of market and competition can be applied to new areas. So this idea as measurables as the marker of value, now you can apply it to education, to nursing, healthcare, sport, many other realms. So put another way, you can apply free market economics to almost all aspects of life, not just what was previously thought of as the... So for example, if you consider universities, according to the neoliberal critique, we don't judge graduates in terms of how well-rounded they are, but rather have they met certain key performance indicators, how much do they cost the government to educate, how much will they give back in terms of dollars. And similarly, if we think about academics, it'll be the same things, how much salary do we pay them, how many key performance indicators do they provide, how many students do they get to graduate, how many numbers of seats, Do they feel in a lecture? That kind of stuff. So, in other words, the economic needs of capitalism are spread throughout the entire society, not just limited to a small sphere that was formerly called the economy. So, how is this idea applied? What we could look at, I'm going to look at two pieces of scholarship. One is a book called Righteous Dopefiend by Bourgeois, and I think it's called Schoenberg. In that book, they look at the experience of drug addicts and how the treatment of the state, how they are treated within a neoliberal regime. The argument they make is that there's no attention to the subjectivities of these people, that the health care provision has failed these drug takers because it's conceived of in terms of inputs and measurable inputs and measurable outputs. Another piece of scholarship is an article by a great Australian anthropologist by the name of Povinelli. She's written an article called Indigenous Politics in Late Liberalism. And again, what she looks at is the way that, if you like, what's called the neoliberal regime has transformed the way that Indigenous Australians, otherwise known as Aboriginal people, the way that Indigenous Australians are treated. The idea is that the critique by Povinelli and others is that within this regime there's no attention to the well-being of Aboriginal people, but rather just, again, inputs and outputs. How many dollars did it cost to maintain this community? What kind of outputs do we get in terms of economy and so on? So, what are some of the issues then surrounding the application of neoliberalism by anthropologists? One problem with the term neoliberalism is related to the fact that everybody on the left of politics, if you like, who doesn't like something, they'll just call it neoliberalism. They don't like Fox News, that's neoliberal, whatever it is. From an anthropological perspective, that's a misuse of the term, and it's easily rectified. It's not really a problem with the concept of neoliberalism per se, just the way it's being used. Another problem is that it's difficult to distinguish neoliberalism from pure liberalism or late liberalism or other forms of liberalism. Neoliberalism, like excuse me, pure or classic liberalism, emphasizes the role of competition, of the market, of limiting government interference and promoting competition. One thing I think is different with neoliberalism is the emphasis on measurable, how it transforms everything into measurable data or dollars. There is a third problem, I think, with the neoliberal critique, is that there's an implication that there's something wrong with the current state of affairs under the neoliberal regime. However, what is the other option? What other options are there? Sometimes it appears to me like, for example, Bourgeois and Schoenberg rightly criticise the treatment of these dope fiends in America and then sort of suggest that perhaps, in Europe the treatment is better. But I'm sure in Europe, for example, when they go to get treated, the dope addicts will have their age taken, the date of birth, their weight, how long they've been using and so on. So in other words, that they'll be measured and treated as a statistic too. So I'm not sure how one avoids these neoliberal patterns. And this is an interesting point, that neoliberalism ties into the notion of governmentality. As we know, with governmentality, there's a focus on statistics and numbers, and the importance of statistics and numbers, my baby, in measuring and classifying people and providing a way of knowing people. So there's a tie-in between governmentality and neoliberalism. Although one difference is that with governmentality, the stress is on a strong state, typically, not necessarily, whereas in neoliberalism, the stress is on a small state. Okay, so the main points are that neoliberalism refers to the reduction of all notions of human life and endeavour in terms of measurable inputs and outputs, in terms of data and dollars, not in terms of, for example, well-being or the subjective aspects of human life, so that such that the qualitative aspects of life are said to be undermined and ignored. That's the critique of what anthropologists call neoliberalism. That's how anthropologists use neoliberalism. There are, though, problems with this concept, as there are with all the other concepts I describe.